This is the fifth state winning headlines, your media police post, coming to you from Nairobi, Kenya, from the Fort Hall School of Government. In this segment, we summarize some of the headlines that you may have missed this morning, but we also take a look at some of the political pieces that we call cartoons in this country. Today is the 4th of August, 2022, and I'm 2M.
I am Miss K.
And I am 2J, and in case you missed today's headlines, here they are. In the Daily Nation, playing dirty. In the Standard, new bid to block Ruto allies in race. The Star, Raila Ruto 60 hours of make or break. And finally in the People Daily, Chebukati, man in the spotlight. 2M, what do you want to tell us today?
Today I'd like to dedicate the book How to Rig an Election by Nick Chisman and Brian Klaas to William Ruto. But before I tell you why I'm dedicating the book to Ruto, allow me to tell you a story from Russia. In the 1998 St. Petersburg local assembly elections, there was a councillor called Oleg Sergeyev running for re-election. He was like an MCA in St. Petersburg. Sergeyev was quite the thorn in the side of then St. Petersburg governor Vladimir Yakovlev. Yakovlev was a connected man. He had networks at the Kremlin that could make things happen. He also operated a semi-authoritarian political system. He was the boss of St. Petersburg deep state. Yakovlev didn't want Sergeyev to get re-elected. They hated each other. So Yakovlev hatched a plot to kick out Sergeyev as councillor. A few days to the deadline of submission of councillor candidates, Yakovlev went to the village and got a village drunk with the exact same name as his arch-nemesis, Oleg Sergeyev. Yakovlev then went to St. Petersburg's IEBC and registered him to run for the same seat as the other Sergeyev. When election day arrived, voters were stunned to see two candidates with the same name on the ballot. Not knowing who was who, many votes were cast for the village drunk. And that's how MCA Oleg Sergeyev lost his re-election bid. What's the point of my story? It is not that we will have two William Rutos on the ballot. No. The point is, William Ruto shouldn't worry much about the deep state rigging. After all, rigging is a common occurrence across the world. The Americans, Russians, Africans, and the Chinese, they all do it once in a while. But if Ruto hasn't seen the drawing on the wall, then he is a political greenhorn. He should ask himself these questions. 1, who is a vice CDF? 2, who is the new army commander? And 3, and most importantly, does he think the deep state will see him coming for them and they do nothing about it? In any case, Ruto is not the first candidate to claim deep state rigging. Since 1992, we have had 53 presidential candidates. 48 of them have accused the state of rigging elections since 1992. Raila has accused the deep state of rigging him for a quarter of a century. So what is so special about Ruto claiming rigging will happen? And even if it happens, what should we do for him? Look, Bwana Ruto, you have a majority of Kikuyus on your side, say about 65%. They have been called thieves all their lives. Why don't you ask them to help you steal as well?
On that note, as you talked about Oleg Sergeyev, I don't know if you guys heard this week, the US is having their midterm elections.
Right.
And there were two men by the name of Eric, both running for Republican seats in a certain state. I can't remember which. And so Trump tweeted on his new Twitter platform, I endorse Eric. He didn't say which Eric. So both Erics go and tweet and they say, I just spoke to Trump and he endorsed me. Thank you, Mr. Trump. The other Eric tweets, I just spoke to Trump. He just endorsed me. Thank you, Mr. Trump. What happened is Trump had called both Erics to say, I endorse both of you, but didn't tell the other that he had called the other one. I hear this week one of the Erics won. I don't know which one, but I know that reminded me as you told us that story.
All just so hilarious. I want to go to the US, and on Tuesday this week, the US Embassy in Nairobi issued a security alert to all US citizens on the Kenya general elections. It is a routine alert informing the citizens that Kenya is having an election and informing informing them to monitor local media for updates, avoid crowds and demonstrations, don't wear flashy jewelry. The alert would have gone unnoticed except for one sentence. Out of an abundance of caution, the embassy has imposed movement restrictions on personnel in Kisumu. But why Kisumu? Why only Kisumu? In defending its decision, the embassy spokesperson said in a statement that, and I quote, alerts of this nature to American citizens are common ahead of elections throughout the world. And the United States has no information to suggest the security situation in Kisumu or in any other parts of Kenya have been adversely affected by election preparations. Kisumu Governor Anyang' Nyong'o dismissed the statement and said that Kisumu is safe. But the advisory raises some questions. Is there intelligence of an impending security threat in Kisumu? And is that intelligence actionable? And has it been shared with the relevant security agencies? Or is this message a political dog whistle? A coded message intended for a particular group of people? I don't know. The U.S. Embassy says that Kisumu hosts a significant number of U.S. Embassy personnel and is a frequent travel destination for American citizens. While this is true, I would like to look back into history to try and understand the rationale for the advisory. According to the report of the Commission of Inquiry into the Post-Election Violence, or the WAKI report in short, certain regions in Kenya have historically been prone to electoral violence and were post-election violence hotspots in 2007. Was Kisumu a PEV hotspot? Yes. Lives were lost, government offices, business premises, residential houses, and public and personal vehicles were looted, burnt, or damaged. But Kisumu was not the only violence hotspot area. There was violence at the Kisii-Kalenjin border, ethnic clashes in Mount Elgon district, and in the beautiful Rift Valley, there have been serious pre-election violence in 1992 and 1997, and post-election violence in 2007 in Nakuru, Eldoret, Burnt Forest, Kuresoi, and Molo. Koigi Mwamere once said, if Nakuru coughed, all of Kenya caught a cold. It would therefore be prudent, out of the abundance of caution, to advise against travel to any tourist destination on the Nairobi-Nakuru highway. Now, while we understand the embassy's need to ensure the safety of its citizens, I mean, it's their duty, our only request is one. Expand the advisory to include all potential hotspot areas in tourist destinations.
You know, Ms. K, I keep wondering, why didn't people notice that the U.S. Embassy did not mention Kibera or Mathare?
That is true, right?
Because
there's a wire direct from Kibera to Kisumu. So
precisely. And
anything starts in Kibera.
And if Kibera has not been mentioned, then it means Baba wins.
Okay, I don't know the leap, but it's all right, it's allowed.
All right, so today let's talk numbers. More specifically, let's talk turnout. In our estimation, turnout on Tuesday will be around 71%. And we arrived at this by taking the average voter turnout across our past 6 elections. The most consistent voters in the country have been Gema, the Kalenjin, and the Luo Nation.
Correct.
The most inconsistent have been the Kamba, Kisii, and coastal blocks. No offense. The highest voter turnout in the history of our elections was in 2013 at 86%.
Oh.
But what made this election so special? For one, this was the first election under the new 2010 constitution. But for the candidates, ICC was hanging over the Ruto Uhuru campaign, even though it became a uniting factor. And for Baba, after 5 years as Prime Minister, he was owed the presidency. On the other hand, our lowest voter turnout of just 55% was in 2002, the year Arap Moi went home.
Right.
And it's possible that the promise of a new leader, any leader, meant that people didn't really care to vote.
Yes.
So like Prof says, if history is faithful to science,
yes,
can our election data tell us what turnout will be like on August 9th? I would like to think so.
Yes.
And what history and data are telling us is that on Tuesday, turnout will be low.
Yes.
Because this election is about nothing.
Yes, absolutely.
So if this is the case, how should the candidates respond in the next 5 days? The simple answer is to encourage voting. But the hard part is where to focus this energy. For a fact, we will see the highest Luo and Kalenjin turnout ever. For them, this election is personal.
Correct.
But also, for a fact, the other ethnic blocs are going to let them down. So which bloc will it be?
Yes.
Round of applause.
Hey, Kikuyus.
My money is on Gema.
Yes.
They are going to fail to vote and cost William Ruto the presidency. And this is because Gema has no skin in the game.
Yeah.
This is not their election. In fact, as we've said before, Kikuyus don't even need to vote on Tuesday because they're represented by every running mate candidate.
Yeah.
They have already won. Going to the ballot on the 9th is simply a formality. And if the UDA nominations are anything to go by, only 2% of Gema might feel the need to show up. So here is some unsolicited turnout strategy. Tubaba, focus on your strongholds. As Ms. K has told us, the Americans have told the world that Kisumu is not safe. So the whole of the Luo nation will come out to prove them wrong.
Yes.
But 30 years of election data say to pay close attention to the Kambas, Kisis, Luyas, and Costerians. Again, no offense. To Arap Ruto, some may say that rigging is the only option, but we won't encourage that. If Gema only came out 61% from Waikibaki in 2002 and 71% in 2007, yet you call him the best president Kenya has ever had, your odds don't look that good. Remember, you need 90% of Gema to win.
Bang.
So our advice is simple. Eat into your opponent's base. It might be your only option. And to country, keep the following in mind.
Yeah.
Bad officials are elected by good people who don't vote. All right. On that note, we have a 3-part criteria that we use to judge the headlines by. We ask ourselves, is the headline topical or speculative, repetitive or groundbreaking, and finally thoughtful or just plain lazy? So the Daily Nation tells us about people who are playing dirty.
Yeah.
I think the media forgets that politics is dirty.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I think we toss the Daily Nation on account of
calling
them.
a pig dirty.
They don't get it. Yes. The Standard, new bid to block Ruto allies and race. I think these are people who have been sued, the likes of Rigathi, Sakaja. Sorry for them, I suppose. In the Star, Raila Ruto, 60 hours of make or break.
How do they say 60 hours? Who calculated that?
I know, if we are today, it is Thursday. It's 3 days, 72 hours. So can we toss that on account of bad math?
Yes,
I
absolutely.
think we're left only with the
People daily.
Man on the spotlight. I would not trust Chebukati to even chair a funeral committee.
But he is the man in the spotlight and he has the current most experience in running elections.
Not all experience is good experience.
Beautiful.
All right, don't forget, we are also on your TV screens. You can find us on Pang Free to Air, GoTV, and Star Times. I will leave you with a quote from Abraham Lincoln. He says, elections belong to the people. It's their decision if they decide to turn their back on the fire and burn their behinds, their bums. Then they will just have to sit on their blisters.
Kikuyus, how was yours?
Always Kikuyus. But to the whole country, make the right decision. Have a good evening and we will see you tomorrow.
Cool.